the top somehow. I'll keep moving on. I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. I'll keep moving on.
Oh yes, my Straight Talk family. You hear that theme song? Then you know it is the time to say greetings to the entire world. Because we are on the World Wide Web and we reach and we communicate with you all over the globe, but we come from the beautiful federation of two islands, one lovely paradise called St. Kitts and Nevis. So I'm duty bound to say good night, St. Kitts and Nevis, and good night to the entire Caribbean region. We go all the way down south, Trinidad and Tobago, or matter of fact, we go on the South American mainland to Guyana, Venezuela, and we come all the way up to Barbados, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, St. Lucia, and Dominica, Guadeloupe, and Martinique. Good night, Montserrat. Good night, Antigua and Barbuda. Then we go west to St. Eustatius, Saba, St. Bart, St. Martin. How is Anguilla tonight? Then we go to the US, VI, the Tortola Anegada, Virgin Gorda, the USVI should be St. John, St. Croix. What am I talking about? And the BVI, Tortola Anegada, Virgin Gorda. How is San Juan, Puerto Rico? And of course, we go to the Kittian Division and Caribbean diaspora all over the globe. Some of you are in Africa. There's some of you in Europe. Some of you in Asia. And there are a whole lot of you all over North America. So I'm at liberty to say good night. I can say good morning, and I can also say good afternoon, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves. And we welcome all to Straight Talk, and in particular those first-timers. If you're joining me for the first time, we welcome you, and to inform you that Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday night from 8 to 10 in the PM. And for the first-timers, Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, we do have a forum to express yourselves freely. On this program, we try to raise the level of national, regional, and international consciousness. We try to raise the level of national, regional, and international discourse by alerting our people to their rights, responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liebert, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation. And for the first timers, let me inform you that your host is an untiring advocate of truthfulness. On Straight Talk, absolutely nothing is watered down. We never try to make it more interesting, neither by omission nor by exaggeration. We are not about sensationalism or creating excitement, especially if we have to do that at the expense of accuracy, because we always lean on the facts, as it is my bounden duty to present what I call the unvarnished truth, the plain truth, especially when it comes to governance, integrity, accountability. Wherever you are, in St. Kitts and Nevis, or wherever you are in the world, because we are joined together with people all over the Federation. We are joined together with people all over the world. Some we know, some we do not know, some we have met, some we will never ever meet spiritually. But we agree with the position of truth. Some will agree with the position of truth. Some will disagree. That's understandable, because we promote what I call a diversity of views. But I'll be troubled if we ever start to become disagreeable. But let's thank Almighty God nonetheless for helping us to understand, oh, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. Let us therefore hope and pray for that day when we will all sing his praise together. So welcome again, my people, and thanks for those who share the link. As you bring first-timers, please continue to do so. And I must always remind you that Straight Talk is a participative program, especially for the first-timers. By that I mean we include your calls, we include your emails, and if you're so minded calling, the numbers are on your screens. And for those who like what I call the cloak of anonymity, we give you access via our email platform, and that address is also on the screen. You're also heard on Alexa. Those who have access to Alexa, you know, just say, Alexa, play Massive Vibes Radio. And we thank the owner for giving us access at a nominal cost. And when we talk about costs, some of you have made donations as well to support our efforts here on Straight Talk. For that, I say a big, big thank you. I must also reassure you that no matter the level of your contribution, please don't stop, because it helps us to continue this important service, a public service, I call it. Others may wish to donate, can simply scan the code on your screen to access that payment form. And very simple process. So thank you again for your support and for helping us to keep the dialogue alive. And my Straight Talk family, I must at all times welcome my junior brigade. Young Dwayne is always here. Jasmine, Tristan, Shamar, Kevin, Young Rue, Jamal, Travis, Travon, Neymar, my grandson, and Saraya, Elizabeth, and that special lady in St. Louis. We normally have our observations in review, and after our observations in review, we will begin our thesis for tonight, which I've titled A Reckless Game with the Future of Our Federation. But on a sad note, we must first of all extend condolences to the family of Theophilus Adolphus Taylor, also known as Lionel Burt. And some of us would remember him for different reasons. He is a senior sea turtle technician with the St. Kitts Sea Turtle Monitoring Network, a member of the wider Caribbean Sea Turtle Conservation Network as well, and participated in aspects of veterinary student training at the Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine. You understand he was also named as a Disney Conservation Hero by the Disney Conservation Fund in 2021. Also a certified interpretive guide with the National Association of Interpretation from 2015 to present. And he's left among his son, Joseph Bergen, my good friend, Lord Navigator. I haven't seen him for a while. You must remember Navigator. I haven't heard his calypso for a long time. He must as well. But to the Bergen family, we extend our sympathies. But I remember Theophilus, or Lionel, for this. I remember him at one meeting we had some years ago, and he really, in extending his gratitude to the then Team Unity administration, we had a roof program that covered the entire island here in St. Kitts, or islands, I should say, St. Kitts and Nevis. And Theophilus brought out the house, I remember, when he said this.
I am not talking about Corona. I am talking and giving thanks for the roof that I get fixed from this community. I used to live in a house. I used to have 3 buckets in one chair. I could not sleep. I had to make trip. This one full, we move. The other one full, we move when we went falling hard. I lying down at the time, I seen the sunshine. At night time, the moonlight coming through the roof. The pieces of roof, them dropping down like biscuit. And this government, Team Unity, put it just like I want it. That the first night, I sleep. I was asleep till the morning. The sunrise, I didn't say no. So, I come to the mic to thank Team Unity whole cabinet for the aggressive and their good work. For I couldn't afford to buy 1 pound of nail.
Yes, that was Lionel Bud, real name Theophilus Adolphus Taylor, very colorful in thanking Team Unity for his roof. And he didn't see the sunshine that morning and he slept till late. But may his soul rest in eternal peace, my Straight Dog family. And we move to our first observation. And I thought I would expose this as an observation, because I became very troubled when I saw this open carriage of a firearm. This firearm on display during the campaign of the recently announced elections slated for December 1st. You can see the Prime Minister Pierre there smiling, and the Deputy Prime Minister as well, Hilaire. But this is not a police man. This is a politician campaigning in St. Lucia. Some said it's Frederick, others said otherwise, but let's call him a politician on the Labour Party in St. Lucia. But the question is, my Straight Dog family, the question arises, this politician is armed. So should the ordinary voter arm himself or herself? That's not a picture that anyone should be proud of, my Straight Dog family. St. Lucia on the campaign. My second observation relates to a question asked by a reporter at a PAM forum last Thursday. And Straight Talk found both the question and the answer very interesting. Is what transpired back then.
Is there anything in the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis where you can have two types of citizens? One can vote and one cannot vote based on how they obtain their citizenship.
The Constitution allows for government to create different types of citizenship. You have various types listed in the Constitution now, and it allows for Parliament to create other types. When we introduced the Citizenship by Investment Act, it was never intended that economic citizens would vote. When we introduced the legislation, and during all of the time that PAM administration was there, no economic citizens were allowed to vote.
As I said, my Straight Dog family, I found the question very interesting. So to the answer. But I was a bit confused. And I did some research on my own and, of course, sought some advice as well, legal advice. Because under the Citizenship Act, a person registered as a citizen by investment is a citizen, whether we like it or not. But that act expressly stipulates this: registration is without any rights of voting, save under and in accordance with any law that governs voter qualifications. In other words, you still or one still has to meet the election law requirements to get on the voters list. But eligibility to register and vote in a constituency is set out by the National Assembly's Act. And one may vote only if you are on the register of voters for that constituency, because registration is mandatory. One has to register to vote in St. Kitts and Nevis. That is straightforward, my straight dog family, as the right to vote is clearly stipulated by the legislation. And as long as you are a citizen, age 18 and over, who is ordinarily resident in St. Kitts and Nevis, you qualify. And the ordinary residence is determined on the facts, generally where you live as your habitual home, and the Act provides guidance and allows the registration officer to verify claims. You do so via visits, and that's an excerpt from the National Assembly and Elections Act on your monitors. So what does this really mean, specifically for CBI citizens? Once a CBI citizen moves to St. Kitts and Nevis and is ordinarily resident and 18 years and over, all that person has to do is apply in person to be entered on the voters list for the constituency where he or she lives. And once registered, you can vote like any other citizen. And that is clear. To vote, you must qualify and register under the National Assembly's Elections Act. And that means, for CBI citizens and all citizens, that means actually living or ordinarily resident in St. Kitts and Nevis and registering in person in the constituency where you live. And that is like ABC. So as again, I said I was somewhat confused when I heard this, my straight dog family.
Is there anything in the Constitution of St. Kitts and Nevis where you can have two types of citizens? One can vote and one cannot vote, based on how they obtain their citizenship.
The Constitution allows for government to create different types of citizenship. You have various types listed in the Constitution now, and it allows for Parliament to create other types. When we introduced the Citizenship by Investment Act, it was never intended that economic citizens would vote. When we introduced the legislation, and during all of the time that PAM administration was there, no economic citizens were allowed to vote.
Well, my Straight Talk family, there's some variance, obviously. And the discussion comes around the possibly 10,000 persons that would descend upon Nevis if that development goes ahead. But for most CBI citizens, all that is required that they actually live or reside in St. Kitts and Nevis and just trot on to the electoral office and register in person in the constituency where you live. So CBI or economic citizens can vote. They are citizens entitled to the rights as stipulated by the Constitution. And those are my observations in review for tonight. And my Straight Talk family, I move right into my thesis, which I mentioned that I have titled A Reckless Game with the Future of Our Federation. And everywhere I go in Bastille, I've been to Charlestown, I've been to the supermarkets, I've been down by the bay. And just today, someone stopped me, not out of curiosity, but out of deep, trembling concern. And the topic was, as has always been the same for the last going on to a month, the topic was about the direction in which our beloved federation is heading, especially in the wake of the rush passage of the much talked about Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Act, which was passed in August 2025. It was rushed through the Parliament in 2 readings, 3 readings, beg your pardon. And people are asking, what was the hurry? People are asking, why the secrecy? People are asking, why the refusal to listen? But yesterday, someone stopped me and said something that continues to echo in my mind ever since. The Prime Minister and the Premier are not listening, they said. And both seem hell-bent on taking a reckless gamble with the future of our federation. Terence Michael July and Denzel Llewellyn Douglas are patiently awaiting the verdict on the Destiny Project over there in Nevis, as the Nigerians are coming to Whitegate, my Straight Talk family.
I believe that the time would come, therefore, as the Cabinet just a few weeks ago supported a submission that was made by the Whitegate Development Corporation for the Whitegate Development Area to be designated as a special development area. I believe, therefore, that as the framers of that kind of thinking come together, then they would be guided by what is being legislated in this parliament today. That the Whitegate development area might become one of the special sustainable development zones outlined with guidelines in this legislation as to how that can be achieved.
My Street Talk family, I'll get back to that in a second, but I also learned that of the passing of Dr. Macmillan Hodge as well was going to the great beyond, and we extend condolences to his family. But getting back to where we were, my friends, this is not the voice of an activist, a politician, or a critic that came to me. It was the voice of an ordinary citizen. We're hearing the voices of workers, parents, small business owners, farmers, young people crying out for transparency and responsible leadership. A federation cannot be run on gambles. We all heard the presentation made by Dr. Andreas Baumgartner, part of the project advisory team engaged by Olivier Janssens, who is the developer identified for that project, Destiny Project in Nevis. But Dr. Andreas Baumgartner gave us an honest synopsis of similar zones around the world. He said this, my Street Dog family. Baumgartner, I'll get back to that, my Street Dog family. Baumgartner said this about zones, similar development zones around the world. I'll get that video up and playing for us to provide. As usual, we always provide the evidence. And Baumgartner had this to say. I was just going to it, my Street Dog family. Get it up and running for you. But he said this, again, try to find that for you, my Street Dog family. Just bear with me for 1 second. Seem to have lost it for a moment. But he said this, again, my Street Dog family. I'll get that for you right now. This is what, in fact, he had to say about the zones.
So, actually, over the last decades, we have seen a massive rise of special economic zones. There are currently around 6,000 special economic zones around the world. 6,000. Now, not all of them are successful. I would actually argue that a small share is super successful and has really left an imprint on their home countries. There is a large number of zones that are so la-la, they are not failing, but they are also not really leaving a big impact. And then you have the zones that, frankly speaking, have failed.
So we all heard, my Street Dog family, from Baumgartner, who told us that there are approximately 6,000 zones around the world. But there are those not constructed with extreme caution and firm safeguards that have a long history of failure, exploitation, and unintended consequences. Yet there is a zone proposed for Nevis called Destiny. And instead of addressing these warnings, our leaders dismiss concerns as if the people are irrelevant. Leadership requires clarity, not confusion, my straight dog family. The Prime Minister himself, Terence Michael Drew, has made statements regarding Destiny, or the Destiny Project, that have only deepened public confusion, when Drew had this to say.
SSZ is not the destiny.
Something is going wrong. What's going on with my... Yes, he made a statement again. That's Terence Michael Drew, the Prime Minister, that has, as I said, deepened the confusion as it relates to the Destiny Project in Nevis. And he, in fact, went on to say this, my straight dog family, about that project, and he himself seemed confused. And my straight dog family, many citizens openly wonder, is Terence Michael Drew unaware, or is he being evasive? Either way, my straight dog family, confusion at the highest level of government is not reassuring when the future of our sovereignty is on the line. Across the Narrows, Mark Brantley has a different style and approach, but faces the same problem, my straight dog family. On Nevis, the people face a different tone from Mark Brantley, but the same troubling pattern. Mark Anthony Graham Brantley no doubt is motivated by Sun Tzu, the Chinese military general, author and philosopher who wrote in his book, The Art of War. And he wrote that attack is the secret of defense, and defense is the planning of an attack. The thought is that by being aggressive rather than passive, he will get a strategic advantage over his opponents by forcing these opponents to be on the defensive or on the defense. The Premier, Brantley, has chosen confrontation over consultation. Too often he speaks to the people of Nevis with hostility instead of respect. Recently, he boasted that nobody could outsmart him.
When I graduated law,
Recently, he said this. What's going on with my... He said nobody could outsmart him. This is what Mark Brantley said, my Straight Dog family. Nobody could outsmart him. The devil is in the house. But we're going to hear what we're supposed to hear tonight, my Straight Dog family. As Brantley had this to say just a few days ago.
when I graduated law school at the Norman Manley Law School in 1994, Mark Brantley from Henley Park and Brownhill was #1 in the Caribbean at Norman Manley Law School. And I went to Jamaica in 1994 and I graduated #1 in class. I got a certificate of merit. It was only the 4th time in the history of the Norman Manley Law School that a certificate of merit had been awarded. You know why I'm saying that? I am saying that because nobody could outsmart me.
Nobody could outsmart Brantley. But leadership is not a competition in outsmarting your own citizens. Leadership is about humility. Leadership is about accountability. Leadership, Brantley, is about service. And yes, he was fortunate that his academic journey was made possible through scholarships from Chapel School in Nevis right up to the University of the West Indies. And that last sojourn was sponsored by the Social Security Board. So Mark Brantley was a national welfare child, my Straight Dog family, and ought to be a little more, or serve with some more humility.
You know where I went to school? I started out at Chapel School. I went briefly at what is now Joyceton Library. I went to Ivor Walters, at the time Prospect. I went down there by CSS. I went to Sixth Farm. And then I got the opportunity to go abroad. But my entire school foundation was here in Nevis.
So yes, my Straight Dog family, instead, he would come, and one would think that such generosity from the people's institution would inspire lifelong gratitude and accountability. Instead, we now hear public frustration about unresolved issues relating to the government, or the government's use, I should say, of the Social Security building. Remember, the Social Security Board sponsored his learning at UE. And the allegations still exist about unpaid contributions or unfair rental arrangements. This is not the example the people of Nevis deserve. And academics are not governance. So let's just accept the Premier's academic achievements. He may indeed have excelled in the classroom. But governance is not about examinations, or is not an exam. Leadership is not a debate competition, Brantley. The people do not judge leaders by certificates, but by results. Performance matters, you've always heard. And when you assess Brantley's performance as Premier, everyone would conclude that Mark Anthony Graham Brantley is functionally dunce. I say it again. Mark Anthony Graham Brantley is functionally dunce. And what do the results from Mark Brantley show? For nearly 2 decades, he's tried to develop geothermal. Flashback, my Straight Dog family, to this.
This geothermal project, has been an exercise that has now occupied the minds of governments, and even through change of governments on the island of Nevis since about 2004. I think the advantages of geothermal are well known. We're talking about clean energy, green energy, cheaper energy, and a renewable resource that really puts Nevis in a category of its own. If we can achieve what we intend to achieve here, it means that Nevis becomes fossil fuel free for this generation of electricity. It puts us really in a category of our own in the Caribbean and perhaps in the world in terms of being completely sustainable for our electricity supply.
And where's the geothermal? For nearly a decade. Yes, nearly 10 years of construction on the Alexandra Hospital addition, the wing, still incomplete, my Straight Dog family. He said this years ago, my Straight Dog family.
It's been 6.5 years since the ground broke at the Alexandra Hospital expansion wing in Nevis, yet the new wing is still not complete. The delays have caused some debate among persons on the island who question why it is taking so long and how much will it actually cost. Initially budgeted at $19 million in 2017, it is not certain how much the project will cost when it is completed. The NIA previously disclosed that close to $14 million of the budgeted $90 million was spent on the project prior to 2023.
The hospital, in terms of completion date, we didn't give a completion date. I did say that I expected substantial completion by the end of this year. I confess that I did not get an update prior to coming here. And I would hope by the next press conference I'll have a full update on where we are in relation to the hospital. Will it be finished within budget? No. We expect that it will go over budget. We're trying to, however, ensure that it doesn't go too far over the original budget.
And that's 2 years ago, my Straight Dog family. So for a man who says nobody can outsmart him, the people are left asking, how then do these basic national projects remain unfinished year after year? Mark Brantley, where is the accountability? We must not gamble away our future. My fellow citizens, I've said this before and I must repeat it. And I'm sure you'll understand. We stand at a crossroads. The Rush Special Sustainability Zone Act, the confusion at the federal level, the hostility and stalled development on Nevis, the lack of transparency, the growing fear that powerful external actors are being granted the keys to our sovereignty are concerns that are valid. A game-changing development on Nevis is what the snake Mark Brantley is promoting. But he is ignoring the cries of his people. He is defiant, as though he is defending the millions he is about to earn, along with his wife Sharon Mama Brantley. But today, 42 years after independence, we face a new challenge, one born not out of colonialism, but of a troubling lack of transparency and accountability within the very leadership that should be defending Nevision interests. The Concerned Citizens Movement-led Nevis Island administration has moved to establish an enclave meant to accommodate 10,000 persons. And we're not taking heed. But if we have to consider 10,000 persons with a family, normally it's a family of 4, a spouse and 2 children, easily that can go to 40,000 persons. Yet, the details remain hidden from the very people whose lives will be affected, beg your pardon. But Straight Talk tonight is warning of an impending demographic earthquake. 10,000 unknown settlers. We are told openly, shamelessly, that 10,000 unknown settlers will be brought into a 36 square mile island, almost doubling the population. 10,000 people for an island with only 13,000 residents. There will be a demographic earthquake so massive that it threatens to rewrite our culture, our society, and our future in a single stroke. And when the people ask, who are these settlers? The answer from the cabinet is chilling and disgraceful as well, my Straight Talk family.
As well, which is, I believe...
It's chilling and as well it is disgraceful. My Straight Talk family, you will hear for yourselves from the Deputy Premier who told the nation this, my Straight Talk family.
As well, which is, I believe, some misinformation. You say that most of the persons who will be living in his zone will be wealthy Americans. We don't know we don't know whether they will be Americans, Europeans, or where they're going to be coming from, because we are not the ones who will be promoting the development, and we are not the one who's going to be selling the units that are there. So we cannot come and say that most of them will be Americans. We are not sure.
Not sure, my Straight Talk family. That's the response from Deputy Premier Evelyn. Could you imagine that? 10,000 persons or settlers will descend upon the shores of Nevis. What kind of leadership signs away land and sovereignty without knowing who will occupy their shores? What kind of leader gambles with the identity of a people? What kind of leadership invites strangers while ignoring its own citizens? But we know it doesn't matter. Mark Brantley said to Nevis and the world, it does not matter.
Gentlemen, I am here to advise those who may not have known that it does not matter to me one jot what people say. It doesn't matter. What you have to say about me and your opinion of me, that no matter. You understand? Because when I go home, it is the opinions there that matter to me most. I live by me. You live by you. So you worry about who home by you, whether them like you or not. And I can worry about who home by me.
And yes, who's home? By Brantley. Sharon Mama Brantley. As long as she makes some millions in real estate commission, estimated at $50 million, if all goes well. And Daniel Brantley gets another $50 million as a service provider. It does not matter. It really does not matter to Mark Brantley. And we've been missing something for a long time as well, my Straight Talk family. That his colleague in cabinet also has an interest over there in the Southwest.
I am not one of those persons benefiting from the scandalous schemes that undervalue our passport. In fact, quite the opposite. I am a victim of the schemes because they have prevented me from being able to attract investors to my project.
Yes, my Straight Talk family, you recognize this voice. That's Spencer Brand. He has a CBI project as well we learned about belatedly.
Mark Brantley should know better. A member of the Mark Brantley's cabinet, Spencer Brand, is also a developer in the CBI program. And Spencer Brand project came to the cabinet, supported by the NIA, for us to give them shares. Is it that the government then is funding Spencer Brand project? They understand, because right in their cabinet is a member participating in the program.
And we ask, will Spencer Brand's proposed hotel be part of the Brand hotels at the Destiny project? But my Straight Talk family, this cannot be governance. This is recklessness. This is not development. This is destabilization. This is not progress. This is a ticking time bomb, my Straight Talk family. But we say thank God for the civic organizations that have spoken out. Think of the Bar Association, the St. Kitts Nevis Bar Association. They've asked that the legislation be repealed. Think of the St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce. They wrote as well about the lack of consultation with the people on such significant legislation, and the fact that some consultation is belatedly taking place after its enactment create additional justifiable suspicions. Yes, enactment of that act. The Chamber takes the view that any event certain key guardrails should not be crossed in any development agreement, and they've listed their schedule, my Straight Talk family. But we gather at this moment, and we can tell you as well, thanks to the Chamber that went on and made this suggestion. They spoke of the anomalies, the irregularities, and wrote in paragraph 5, I think, of that letter it was, and I quote, "In light of the above, the Chamber suggests that the legislation be repealed and that extensive discussion be undertaken with the public on the exact nature and extent of special economic zones and the potential advantages and disadvantages of same, and the protections, parameters, and guardrails that would be required to promote economic development and to protect our people and economy from potential exploitation if this concept is pursued." And that letter was written to the Prime Minister, Terence Michael Drew, or July. And we gather at a moment of enormous possibility, my Straight Talk family, and profound responsibility. For generations, our twin island nation has carried a reputation rooted in history, St. Kitts, the mother colony of the West Indies, the first English foothold in the Caribbean. Today, some are suggesting that Nevis could become the mother colony of the libertarian world, the birthplace of a bold new experiment in governance and economics, the proposed Destiny Project. This project, introduced by Ms. Olivia Johnson and framed within the first special economic zone on our southern coast, has captured international attention. According to one of his consultants engaged, and I made mention of his name before, Dr. Andreas Baumgartner, such zones are meant to operate as an island within a country, with distinct regulations, economic models, and governance structures by Straight Dog family. Baumgartner said this:
Special economic zones, as defined by the United Nations, are geographically delimited areas within which governments facilitate industrial activity through fiscal and regulatory incentives and infrastructure support. If you look at this definition, there are three core elements. And if you only take one thing from this lecture, it's those three elements. It's a geographically delimited zone. You could speak of it as an island within the country. It has got its own set of rules and regulations. And why does it have that? To serve the purposes of a specific economic objectives. That's what we're talking about. A zone set up to achieve business objectives.
And yes, my Straight Dog family, years ago, we were sold another dream. Remember the Christopher Harbour? You must remember that. A grand spectacle. Remember? A mega project dripping with promises. And what became of it? You know the answer. Failure. Half finished visions. A legacy of disappointment. Concessions granted. The same concessions that the Destiny Project are demanding. They, at Christopher Harbour, committed, as you can glean from your monitors, your screens. And the second sentence reads, at its own cost, the joint venture expects to build roads, restore beaches, other potential beach areas and bays, construct electrical power generation and distribution facilities, construct water desalination and distribution facilities, and construct a wastewater treatment and collection facility, and many other improvements that will benefit not only the resort, but all the citizens of the Federation. For example, development of the resort is projected to provide St. Kitts with a total tax and economic benefit of over 17 billion US dollars. That's what it reads, my Straight Dog family. And now, the same leadership who cannot finish a hospital, cannot finish a hospital wing over there in Charlestown at the Alexandra Hospital after nearly a decade. Yes, nearly a decade, 10 years, my straight dog family. But that same leadership wants us to believe that they can manage $1 billion megacity. How can we believe this man?
So they're saying that the investment will be over $1 billion US, and they're saying that they're going to create thousands of jobs. Jobs during construction and jobs afterwards. So we have an opportunity based on this type of development to generate hundreds of millions of dollars for the government. Not for Mark Brantley, for the government. We are talking about that whole area, Saddle Hill, and those vacant lands being restored and revitalized. Shops, restaurants, cultural spaces. They're talking about the possibility of a marina. All of these will create opportunities for local businesses and tourism. They're talking about international hotel brands. They say that what they want is branded communities within the zone. When I spoke to the developers say they're speaking to the top 10 hotel brands in the world. And over the life of this project, they want ultimately to create a minimum of 3 resort communities within that zone.
Imagine Mark Brantley, a leader who cannot complete an expansion for the sick, but claims he can deliver a utopia for the rich. If this project is to be the mother colony of anything, then let it be the mother colony of responsible development, transparent governance, and people-powered decision making. Transforming a portion of the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis into semi-autonomous economic enclaves without broad public consent is not modernization. Who is Mark trying to outsmart?
When I graduated law school at the Norman Manley Law School in 1994, Mark Brantley from Henley Park and Brownhill was #1 in the Caribbean at Norman Manley Law School. And I went to Jamaica in 1994 and I graduated #1 in class. I got a certificate of merit. It was only the 4th time in the history of the Norman Manley Law School that a certificate of merit had been awarded. You know why I'm saying that? I am saying that because nobody could outsmart me.
Kudos to Mark Brantley for his academic brilliance. But my straight dog family, he is functionally dunce. Can he outsmart you? That's a question you ask. But we must not allow any semi-autonomous economic enclaves without broad public consent. And that is not modernization. It is a reckless gamble with the collective future of our federation. That's my story tonight, my straight dog family, and I am not going to change it. I will open the lines and entertain your calls and your emails. When I do so, I anticipate that you will respect others. And to achieve that, my straight dog family, the things you say and or do must be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of doing and saying those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. With that said, at 11 past the 9 o'clock hour, we go to the lines, my straight dog family, and say good night to our first caller. Call you.
Good night, Mr. Liebert.
Good night, my dear. My usual caller, yes.
There is no law act.
Yep.
Than betraying those who have placed their trust in you.
Who have placed their trust in you.
I repeat, there is no law act than betraying those who have placed their trust in you. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening as well. We always thank this caller for her quotations. There is no lower act than betraying those who have placed their trust in you. The lines are open, my Straight Talk family. Let's have a discussion tonight. Let's think about the creation of these, or possible creation of these special sustainability zones, that one in Nevis in particular. Tell us if it introduces a balance or imbalance of power between private developers and the people they claim to serve. Speak about the significant land transfers and long-term contractual commitments. What about the deepening economic inequality? Is it a gamble with the collective future of our federation? What about the population shock? We have to confront the with honesty and courage, I should say, the potential downsides of a development that would increase our population by nearly 80% in a few years. And population shock of this scale is not just an economic matter. It can, like I said, be a social earthquake. The lines are open, my Straight Talk family. We're taking your calls. It's 14 past the 9 o'clock hour. If you have just joined me, we are discussing our thesis tonight, which I've titled A Reckless Game with the Future of Our Federation. And don't take it lightly. Please don't, my Straight Talk family. Because we all are the ones who will suffer. There are some people who see or are concerned about themselves and their families. This message reads, Marshall, will you please remove your pictures from the various posts around, stating keep the city clean? Why you always want to take credit from other people's work? Over the past 3 years, you have been taking credit for Grant's hard work in tourism and the tourist ships that are docking at the same spoiled pier that Patches built. Now, you are taking credit from humble, simple people like Jamdong, Ras Eli X, and Alice in Wonderland, who have been calling on everyone to keep the country clean. It is those named persons' pictures that should be mounted on the posts, making the appeal for cleanliness in the country. You are not serious, Marshall, when it comes to cleanliness. Otherwise, the toilets at Port Zante wouldn't be in such a deplorable state. The political grandstanding, and be honest, reads this email. This other email reads, Mr. Prime Minister, you are trying very hard to get back in Douglas's good book after you had disrespected him and wrestled the leadership of the Labour Party from him. and catapulted you to be prime minister. Douglas will never forget nor forgive you for the public outrage, disrespect towards him, promising him a British knighthood and naming the Sadler's High School after him cannot cure the hurt you have inflicted on Douglas. You talk about Harris never treated Douglas properly after he was dethroned from the prime ministership. But you purposely stopped short of speaking about the manner Douglas treated Simmons when he left office. Simmons nearly ended up at the Carlin home at the wicked hands of Douglas. Andrew, now, Labour Party, when you say one Dr. Drew, remember, say two. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good evening to my husband.
how is my wife?
How are you?
I am peaceful. Yourself?
I'm here giving God thanks and I'm here listening to you, my love. Pleasant good night to you.
Good night.
What is the topic for tonight?
We are looking at the reckless, underline, reckless gamble.
The reckless government.
Reckless gamble.
Well, you're going to say gamble, but this is a reckless government. Ain't doing nothing for nobody. Since they're gone inside the power, they're all for themselves. You see?
Mm-hmm. But it is a reckless gamble of our future, you know, and I'm sure.
What happened to the CBI money? They don't deal total.
Mm-hmm.
When them man will come in with a briefcase empty, they go back out with money. Mr. Leiber, think it now come no better, you know? Since them people gone in power, you know, what? Everybody is here coming out. From the time he went in there, he ain't paying a double salary. The last double salary, he did have to pay it because Mr. Harris leave the budget there to pay that double salary. And since that done gone, he ain't pay none to the civil servant them. But he and the cabal them must take 33% from the money. And he haul and scrape here and there and everywhere to send this amount of money down Jamaica. Yes, they need of it. Yes, they need of it. And when he cartel who come sing, how the hell think it gonna rise up? How things gonna be better? How things gonna come good in this place? Eh? How things gonna be better? Things cannot come better. Things cannot look good in this country if he doing whatever he doing. Eh? When he come out of power, he and he cabal them pocket, can full no hell. And the poor man who go in rain and sun to stand up in line, who dirty the finger, that catch real hell. And them that enjoy the fruits of labor. Mr. Library, right, you know? I pray to God that next year God will come in his election.
You've been following what's happening over there in Nevis with this special zone issue?
No, I'm not following it up.
You have me following that?
No.
But are you aware that you may have the same special zone in your neck of the woods down there at White Gate, and we'll be flooded with Nigerians, perhaps?
Yeah, I think I heard somebody say something like that.
Well, you must follow that, and you need to keep focus on that and look at the negative impact it will have on us. I know you get passionate and so on about the government and so, but and that's fine. But you know, in terms of how it would really shock the country economically and socially. I mean, imagine all those Nigerians knocking you down in Sandy Point. Sandy Point, you're from, right?
Yes.
Yes. Imagine.
You hear what I tell you? We ain't have no immigration here now.
Well, that's what's going to happen in the country with these zones that are going.
You see, thinking people is just talking, you know, and just thinking people is just blabbering and talking, but they ain't doing action.
Okay.
We need a strong governmentation to go into and get those people out of there. They cannot run the country. They do not know what they're doing. Dr. Joe Head get white. He don't know what he do.
Okay.
We need back Mr. Harris. Everybody used to laugh and merry and got money in the pocket to pay the bills, buy food. Not like that happen, not like that at that place. Everybody's talking, nobody is spoiled like once ago. Nobody dance up in the street now, sir.
Okay.
I'm sending out this message here. I'm sending out this message here to my name. The way name, my name, eh? The Deputy Prime Minister, what name again?
It's law student, Hanley?
The Deputy Prime Minister, what name? Jeffrey Hanley.
Yes, we call him the law student, yeah.
He needs to go and Montoy in Sandy Point, but the daycare center is, and fix the people in goddamn cupboard.
Okay.
I know that's why when him going stone, find stone and drop out of the cover them over there.
Okay, got you, my dear. Got you very loud.
He deny you nothing in the place.
Okay, thanks a lot for your intervention.
Chris to come and hold people double salary.
Okay, thank you, my dear, and always so passionate. And we go right back to the lines. Say goodnight to this caller. Call you live.
Good evening, Mr. Lebel.
Good evening, sir.
I first of all want to thank you for keeping the bright light of scrutiny on this SS3 Destiny Zone.
Thank you.
It is important that we as Nevisians and Keditians fight this battle together. What is stunning, there is a number of things stunning, is that our Premier has promised these investors a settlement on the south side of Nevis where they'll be able to have their own special homeowners association, according to them. According to Mr. Jensen, the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis would be allowed to visit, not do business, not inhabit, but to visit the zone, which means we'll be foreigners in our own country.
Yep.
I go to visit St. Martin. I go to visit Anguilla. I should not have to visit anywhere in St. Kitts or in Nevis. Secondly, they're telling us about 7,000 to 10,000 people are going to come into this zone. But we should not question who these people are, whether they are criminals, thieves, robbers, whether they are rapists. It doesn't matter to them. As long as they have money, they could come. The Premier of Nevis questions everybody's qualification to hold public office. And we know of his attack on Timothy Harris, Denzel Douglas, Janice Daniel Hodge, Pat Bartlett, name everybody else. It is okay for him to question them and to give people reason why none of these persons are fit to hold public office. He has attacked other citizens likewise. But now they're telling us they're going to be bringing 10,000 persons into this country. And we must not question the background of these people. As a matter of fact, according to Eric, and according to Tri-Level, two ministers of the NIA, they do not know anything about these people.
Sure.
Well, how you will invite them to come into your country to control your country, and you know nothing about them? We are told the CBA program that we have, that you have to do a due diligence check and person before you give them citizenship. Mm-hmm. But this government is telling us, the NIA, that is not important. because money is coming. Another point, Patrick, is that the developers have told us what they want to do. Clearly, they want to have the first libertarian country. It's a country they want to set up.
Yep.
Contrary to what Joe and Mark Brantley is telling us, that country within a country is not in the legislation. The fact is that the developers have said to us that they were looking for a place to set up the first libertarian country anywhere in the world. They would have said to us that in that country, there will be no government at all.
Yep.
They would have said to us that in that country, their inhabitants would not need any passport. And so when you have these crucial matters that you're inviting people to come into your country, and the fundamental laws that govern your citizens would not govern them, the country within a country.
Of course.
I'm going to tell you the last thing, because I am totally upset and angered by the utterances of Terrence Drew, who has the final say on this matter. When the bill was passed and he was questioned, he said, don't ask him nothing about Nevis, don't mess him up in Nevis land business and Nevis affairs.
Yes.
Now, while he is saying that, Mark Brantley is saying to us in Nevis, do not ask him anything about the legislation in SSG, because that is a federal matter, that is a Jew matter. So Jew is running from it. Mark is telling me, John, put that at the face of Jew, the feet of Jew. Now Mark is telling us that his concern is his destiny project. When the Prime Minister is asked, he's telling us that he hasn't seen any project. It is out there, but he hasn't seen it. But the bill stands in his name. To the point, Patches, where Mark Brantley has already said that they'll be creating a special police force for that zone. Dr. Jew is the Minister of National Security. He's responsible for police. Is he trying to convince me and you that he and Mark Brantley had not had any conversation about what is going to take place in that zone if it happens? And so I want the whole of St. Kitts and Nevis to come together and to understand that this is not a Nevis issue. This is a St. Kitts and Nevis issue. And the only how we are going to stop this from taking place on the island, on the country on a whole, is that we have to come with one strong voice. In 1993, I think, the memory serves me right?
Yes.
The Denzel Douglas was able to rally the troops of St. Kitts and Nevis and especially St. Kitts and force Kennedy Simmons to call an early election. This matter of the SSG is bigger, way bigger than that, because our sovereignty is in question. And I'm saying to us that we have to come out and flood the streets of Bastille and Charlestown to show to Drew and Mark Brantley that people power is greater than the persons who are in power. Because it's clear, Patrick, that these two individuals has no intention and rolling back this thing in spite of the outcry of the people.
Yep.
And so we will have to force them to do it. Yep. They will not do it on their own. I think it was Desmond Tutu who said that the oppressor will not give up oppressing the people. The people will have to take their freedom. And we will have to do this. No violence, no burning down, no throwing stone, no hitting anybody.
Peaceful.
But to peacefully demonstrate that we do not want this in our country. Thanks for giving me the time.
Well said, my dear brother. Sound words that cannot be condemned. That is rightly said. Imagine, we are told of openly, shamelessly, that 10,000 and more, 80% of your population will be brought in to a 36 square mile island. Take 25% of that island, almost doubling the population. And your deputy premier said this?
As well, which is, I believe, some misinformation. You say that most of the persons who will be living in his zone will be wealthy Americans. We don't know we don't know whether they will be Americans, Europeans, or where they're going to be coming from, because we are not the ones who will be promoting the development, and we are not the one who's going to be selling the units that are there. So we cannot come and say that most of them will be Americans. We are not sure.
And yes, my Stray Dog family, it's not a party thing. Not about CCM. It's not about NRP. It's not about PLP. It's not about PAM. It's not about Labour. It's about your country, my Stray Dog family. And Drew confused and telling us this?
SSZ is not the destiny. Destiny as a project, I have not seen a proposal about a project.
Oh, you haven't seen it as yet?
It hasn't. Well, it's out there, but I have not received anything as Prime Minister as a proposal. But the SSZ says that any development of a particular size where the Constitution comes into question, sovereignty comes to question, you just can't establish it. You must bring it to Parliament. For example, the Four Seasons Agreement. Have you ever seen that?
No.
It did not have to come to Parliament. The Christopher Harbour, have you ever seen the agreement for Christopher Harbour? Maybe.
Pieces.
But it didn't come to Parliament. I'm not saying that any is bad or good. I'm just saying that there were major developments that did not have to come to Parliament. This is not just a project like a simple project, because I will not accept anybody signing anything in the dark night that can affect our Constitution, that can affect our sovereignty, and can be established without being its own law.
And even in the broad daylight, we are still hiding things. Caller, thank you for holding your live. It's 9:34.
Yeah, Patches, good evening to you.
Good evening, my brother.
Yeah, good evening to you and the listeners home and abroad. Yeah, special thanks to that gentleman that just got off there.
Yep.
I recognize his voice and want to thank him for his continued efforts in terms of trying to stop the Destiny Project on Nevis. Patches definitely a reckless gamble with the future of our federation. Two things real quick. One, question again. Is the Destiny Project married to the SSC law? We might need to get them divorced and stop the Destiny Project. Focus more on that. Because as we know clearly now, the SSD law is already a law. And the chance of repealing that is never going to happen. The majority in the parliament already passed that into law. They will reject a repeal in the House. Thus, the people got to take that power from them corrupted parliamentarians. It's only the people can stop this stuff. This is a federal law. Like the gentleman just said in his utterances. It is not just a Nevis thing. There is still a lot of people who wish there was still a unity. But Patches, if you don't be careful, we might be heading right back there. Right now, in order for that big national mobilization to come, we already done seen it started last week at least in those two, the PLP press brief and that PAM town hall meeting with those lawyers. And we seen movements with NRP in Nevis. What was that, last Thursday or last Friday at the Brown Hill Hard Court?
Friday.
So, Patches, what I'm saying, if those, how much representatives there is in Parliament? 11, and then plus what, the AG and 2 senators or something? They are in the minimum, they are not in the maximum. We put them there to represent us. But if they don't do what we are asking them to do, we got to take that power away from them. And lastly, Patches, and I'm going to let somebody else take the line. The PLP, PAM, and NRP may have to make a push right now in the streets together. And 2 things that Brantley said. It appears like he want to say in that town hall meeting the people can't bring a referendum. There's only certain ways to bring a referendum. And secondly, as your thesis is saying, it's a reckless gamble. The government's side of the default of that Destiny project is so great that not only the SSC proposed 2,400 acres, those people are going to take control of. Anyhow, a future government defaults, they're going to take over the whole of Nevis. That island and inside of an island is going to spread so wide across Nevis. Nevis people can't believe what they're seeing down the road if that ever happen. And Patches, lastly, the people got to take the power in their hands.
Yes, my dear. Okay.
I'm going to dare PLP, PAM, and NRP to come together right now. Don't wait until election.
Okay.
Come together now and mobilize in the streets. And that's the way how you're going to stop that Destiny project in Nevis. We just need to stop that Destiny.
Okay.
We don't need to concentrate that much on the SSC law. Okay. Stop that initial project, and then you will see the statement that will make to the politicians, them and thinkers. I bet they don't think about bringing that Westgate project. Thanks, man.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, the Bar Association have spoken. The Hotel Association have spoken. The Chamber of Industry and Commerce have spoken. We the people must speak. We got to get out there and mobilize. Caller, thank you for holding. You're live.
Mr. Patches, greetings.
Greetings, my brother. How about that?
And how are you? I'm very good.
I'm peaceful. Peaceful.
It's good. It's good you continue this topic. And it's a very good night. But tonight is a rainy night.
It is? It is raining?
Yeah. Okay. And when rain is coming, people's in their house.
Okay.
So somewhere along the line, you have to be listening to something.
Okay.
So, would you have this interesting topic still echoing in the ears of people? Whenever conflict arises between material and spiritual values, the conscience plays an important role. And anyone who suffers from a guilty conscience is never free from this problem until he makes peace with his conscience. Mr. Patches, as I say, a very important program. You know, weekend I took the Observer and the front page caption picture of Mark Brantley and the wording, fear can lead to paralysis. And it continue. I read just a paragraph. Fear can lead to paralysis. We can never fathom the wonders of the ocean if we are afraid to leave the comfort of the shores. Mr. Patches, how Mr. Brandt, they expect a vision to leave the comfort of the shores when they already see that the place marked with the CCM government within a unity administration. The first 5 years, they see the goodness of the unity administration. They give him another 2 seats. And give him another 2 seats. What he done? In all, he had 3 seats. What he done? He put himself to get thrown away. Didn't put no reform process in place on behalf of his people, even though he was getting what he wanted from Nevis. He got back the World Bank report. He haven't reported anything to the people. So he himself is putting fear in the people because he is not transparent to his people. So how we expect the people to move from the shores when they see he's bringing this project not to liberate them, but to destabilize the country, because that's all it's about, destabilization. When you have a small country like Nevis, and you want to bring, even though he keeps saying the private lands, but the private lands are a threat to the sovereignty of the Federation, not just to Nevis, to the Federation.
Yep.
And here is it. He's not listening. He's trying to rewrite history, not in a liberated way, but by destabilization. And that's not good for our country. And it's good whenever we observe over the weekend. It's good to hear the Bar Association. Because you see, for instance, in any case, I was wondering what happened to the Bar Association. But when I hear the Bar Association and it rebuttal towards the Attorney General, etc., etc., I said it's good. Because, you see, we have a young government governing the country. But we also have adults in the country as well living in here. And we cannot say, well, our principle is dead if we say we are Christian people. So the adults still have to take stand on the issues of national development. And I know there are adults in the Bar Association, so it's good to hear the Bar Association truthfully really echoing the sentiments on national issues. Also the chamber, you got adults, persons in the chamber who still have principles in them. So, because you see, it's good to hear how Mark saying what he's saying, but he was number one in this and touting on his academics. Because you see, he is interfering with feathers that are going to get vexed with him. Because you see, St. Kitts and Nevis is an academic islands. The citizens are very academic.
Yep.
And they're very competitive with the academics. So he's saying what he's saying, and he moves in this kind of way to destabilize the Federation. Many persons with the academics ain't allowed that, because many persons in here have St. Kitts have them as their home, and they want to destroy their home.
Okay.
So you continue, Mr. Patches. This topic is very, very, very interesting. You continue to be good, Mr. Labour. Stay strong. God bless. Stay healthy.
God bless you as well, my dear brother. Thanks for your intervention, and thank this caller for holding caller you live. Hello, caller.
Hello, Patrice.
How are you, my dear?
Hello.
How about thou, my dear?
Hello.
Yes, you're live.
I'm good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, my little piece tonight. Why are they, Mark and Andrew, comparing Four Seasons with this project that they having? Four Seasons is a hut. Come and build a hotel and put it there. Whosoever will may come.
Yes.
This destiny way that they're building is completely different from Four Seasons.
Yes.
So they're mixing up the people, them brains, and say, look at Four Seasons and that, this and that. But this is completely, what you doing, the zone, what they have is completely different from Four Seasons.
Destruction.
Because other people, 10 people coming in, 10,000 people coming in, they're going to have this and there is a ghetto community. Four Seasons, that's a community. So why are they mixing up the people's brains? And tell him, look at Four Seasons. Keep Four Seasons out of it. Four Seasons is whosoever will may come. But that project that the community, what they're building there, is not whosoever will may come.
Yep.
So let us stop fooling the people.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all I have to say.
Well said, my dear. Thanks for your contribution. We go back to the lines and thank this caller for holding caller live. Hello, caller.
Thank you, Brother Patches.
Yes, good
night to all listeners. One and all.
Good night, sir.
This is the voice of Winston Welcome.
Mm-hmm.
I like the sequence of the previous contributors, and I will add to it. I align myself and agree with all those previous perspectives. And it is true. We are singing one harmonious song right now. Let us not worry about election. Let us worry about the people's power versus the elitist, the misfit, concept to bring this hardship on the people of the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. We all come, Labour, NRP, CLP. Sorry, let me take out Labour. I made a mistake here. And the Independents hold one song and have a peaceful protest in St. Kitts and Nevis, vice versa, and repeal this law. These leaders, elitists, they have they don't have any power to match up. Okay? They are all transactional. They are fighting to get their retirement money forcefully at the sweat of us, our patrimony, what our forefathers have been sweated for, eaten for, sacrificed for. They have paved the path for us to continuously be free when our own is betraying us. Hell no. As the previous caller said, we have to go in the street and make our voice sound, because the people's power is greater than those few leadership.
Thank you.
Thank you for hearing me. But you continue to be strong. My prayers and my blessing are with you and to all.
Okay, we lost that caller. Caller, we lost you, but I understand your final trends. And it's now 10 before the 10 o'clock hour. And Straight Talk is heard every Monday and Thursday from 8 to 10 in the PM. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Fraternal love and greetings, Brother Patches.
Greetings, my brother.
Joy and peace and love to the how the is doing and to your listeners via radio, of your YouTube and your Facebook, as you call it, Facebook. So how your night is going?
Peaceful. We are concerned of the direction in which the country is heading, led by two leaders.
You're making an outline of the direction to the position of the Federation is taking.
Yes.
And I would like to say, it's a good question you're raising. And the formality is really important to see how we are raising the standard of our people to what is the issue we are facing along this kind of projection of legislation that is fire to Parliament in its capacity. Now, I realize this legislation is a very disposal legislation that did not make no strong level of studies to the people first and foremost. It's a problem then when you don't do much dialogue, as you call it, consultation. But you're pushing something to make an outline of a turn to a development that is not really the standard of reason. Now, you raise some points there with the premier outlining certain things. They're not going on that road with them because they know all politicians is all cheer within the chicks, so they'll have the court switch out there and put things to patronize their own favoritism. And we must really to study the psychology within politics too, and we see why people are so ignorant because we don't want to raise the standard of our mindset. And I will tell you straight out, I'm not going to be no voter to challenge no politician upon what they're doing to our education development. You have to be no voter. My rights of being here as a person who born in a St. Kitts and Nevis, that's the rights that raise my standard to challenge any politician or anyone who feel into their own capacity that they have the leadership standard to raise our people and still have this to do in corrupting and bringing fear and discouragement to the people raising of our land. Land is the issue that is really facing on our people's rights. Sovereignty in our rights of land. We know that to both parties because we still have crown land that is exploiting our people for years until we change that stability out of that dirty institution that was brought from since 1967 in what we come from the Commonwealth, and then we breach into 1983. Then we start raising our people to change the way how these leaders have inflicted pain and sorrows on our development. Okay. You have a blessed night.
Have a blessed night as well. My Straight Talk family, always welcome your interventions. Let's go take dispense of these emails. Patches, I have a very interesting observation that critically involves you, Patches. When you were a minister of government, all the evidence shows you worked diligently with humility and humbleness of spirit for East Bastia, your constituency, and the country as a whole. In 5 years, one term, you have achieved a tremendous amount of successes, and you never boast of your achievement, nor celebrate any openings with pomp and pageantry. Examples: the marvelous Old Road Bay project, no opening ceremony; the construction of the Island Main Road, no opening ceremony; the building of the new pier, no opening ceremony; the installation of the traffic lights, no ceremony; the brand new ferry and bus terminals, no opening ceremony; the other bus terminal in the east at Wellington Road, and yet still no ceremony to waste taxpayers' money. And not overlooking that you gave away half of your month's salary to assist those in dire need, the bedridden ones, the indigent, and the underprivileged in your constituency. In addition to all that, you still gave monetary assistance out of your pocket to persons who approach you on the streets and solicited help from you to pay electricity and other bills. I have witnessed that myself during our street conversations many times. What you have done in one term is commendable, admirable, praiseworthy, creditable, and meritorious. Frankly speaking, you lost your seat which should have never occurred, but because there were those in your cabinet who were envious, jealous with a grudging admiration of your track record of progress and development at fast pace, coupled with the excellent and trusted relationship that existed between Vance, Amory, and Harris, and yourself. If some of them were indolent and lazy in their ministries, why vex with Patches for being so enterprising and adventurous only, grudge? Now let us compare the Island Main Road, where there was no lavish expensive opening ceremony, to a piece of road in Monkey Hill, just for grandstanding's sake. Campaigning politically in disguise was a complete waste of taxpayers' funds coupled with a bunch of lies expressed by economist Maynard as usual. I dare say only a few ardent, credulous and unsuspecting supporters would fall for those lies verbalized by Congress at the event. Let's go to the lines. Thank this caller for holding. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Good night. Good night, sir. How are you?
I am peaceful, man. Yourself?
Let me say good night to your last caller. It's unfortunate to hear the deputy premier what he said that he don't know where the people are coming from. Passing by. Well, if they don't know, how we gonna know?
True.
How Nevis gonna know? If they who is in authority don't know where the people coming from, how Nevis gonna know? Why I tell you. And back to the premier. You should recall, when anybody tell you they're smarter than you, you don't turn around and tell them they're going to outsmart themselves. If you say nobody going to outsmart you, he got to outsmart himself. I could tell him. That's all I want to tell the person. I've been listening to you all night. And I decided I want to call in and voice that on your program. Okay. This is Chukai.
Hey, Chukai. Thanks a lot.
They're going to outsmart themselves. If nobody can outsmart them, they're going to outsmart themselves.
Okay, my brother. Thanks a lot.
Okay, good. Good night.
Yes.
When I graduated law school at the Norman Manley Law School in 1994, Mark Brantley from Henley Park and Brownhill was #1 in the Caribbean at Norman Manley Law School. And I went to Jamaica in 1994 and I graduated #1 in class. I got a certificate of merit. It was only the 4th time in the history of the Norman Manley Law School that a certificate of merit had been awarded. You know why I'm saying that? I am saying that because nobody could outsmart me.
Well, as the caller said, he certainly will outsmart himself. As we wind down, I'll dispense up these emails. There are many things I admire the DJ for. As an activist and recently a journalist, he is not afraid to ask the hard questions from any political figure. Secondly, he has no scruples nor hesitation to do what his mind tells him. The playing of the tape in full context with the AG and his utterance of the expletives by the DJ on his podcast is demonstrative that the DJ is a serious fellow and will not be afraid to expose the bad behavior in public by government officials. Is that he do not take the last lick. Once you criticize the DJ in a negative manner, be prepared to feel the power of his tongue. Under no circumstances would you escape his wrath. As some always say, do not take your eyes off the DJ. Keep up the good political fight for all of us, DJ. We thank you. Read this email. I want really to know who they think they are fooling. At the opening campaign ceremony for the Labour candidate at St. Peter's, last week the so-called engineer sought to put in a plug for Dr. Drew. Think that monkey people are foolish and unable to discern the tricks they are coming with. It was so laughable to hear the so-called engineer saying to the constituents that Drew was constantly nagging him very early in the morning, asking him why the road is staying so long to complete. And his response was, Mr. PM, I know you love the people of St. Peter's and you are anxious to see them get this long overdue road, but we are taking our time to make sure that we deliver a good, proper road. All that long-winded speech was packed with lies, deception, and tricks. We all know very well how lie and misleading Congress is. He told the world that when he gets into government, he will instantly solve the water problem. we cannot see the reasons why we are having water problems and rationing water in this modern age. 3 years now, and he hasn't done one single thing to remedy the water problems, which is getting worse and worse each day. A government and a cabinet of deceivers reads this email. And this is my final email. Greetings, Patches. The government is getting so desperate that they have resorted, beg your pardon, to fooling the very people they claim to be empowering. The Department of Constituency Empowerment proudly advertised project grants worth $100,000 months ago, making it seem as if real opportunities were finally being placed in the hands of the public. But from the start, they knew exactly what they were doing. They opened an application window that was nowhere near sufficient, especially with the amount of paperwork and supporting documents people were required to submit. They created the illusion that citizens had genuine access to this funding, when in reality it seems like the public was only being used for a show. Now, after hyping up this grand initiative, they are telling applicants that the department has nothing to do with it, and that the agency providing the money will be the one to decide. Yet up to this very moment, not a single person has been contacted to say whether they were approved or even considered. It is becoming clearer and clearer that this government believes the people are a puppy show and an audience to fool, distract, and pacify with empty announcements and false promises. But people are paying attention, and the truth is starting to speak for itself. Yes, those are my emails, and at 3 past the 10 o'clock hour, as we wind down tonight's programming, my Street Dog family, I'll perhaps take one more call if that caller can be guided by brevity. But we looked at our thesis for tonight, and our quotation, I should never forget it. We always have a quotation each program. And this quotation: there is no lower act than betraying those who have placed their trust in you. And that is so self-explanatory. And the Jew administration have betrayed us. So too, Premier Mark Brantley and his team continue to betray the people of Nevis. And my Street Dog family, the focus remains on Nevis. But let's not forget St. Kitts. But what's happening in Nevis is a St. Kitts and Nevis thing. We gather at a moment of enormous possibility and profound responsibility. I reflected earlier that for generations our twin island nation has carried a reputation rooted in history. St. Kitts, the mother colony of the West Indies, the first English foothold in the Caribbean. Today, what some are now suggesting, that Nevis could become the mother colony of the libertarian world, the birthplace of a bold new experiment in governance and economics through the proposed Destiny Project. We understand there was a meeting yesterday, so some special people, who they were, we don't know. We understand some 20 were invited, but only 9 showed up. What transpired, we don't know. But I'll take this, make this my final call. Caller, I'm going to guide you by brevity. I can only give you 30 seconds. Can you take it?
Economics.
Hello, caller?
That's it.
Yes, I'll give you 30 seconds. That sounds like the Bible man. Beg pardon?
Because I wonder, if I'm calling now.
Yeah. You have 30 seconds. So give me 2 Bible verses, and bless tonight.
Patrick, I can tell you something, right? This program when you got in on the air is just good for people to really talk, and then when they do talk and no action is something else. But let me tell you something. I can tell you something what happened in the Bible in Second Chronicles.
They make it fast, Bible man. Make it fast.
I am going to make it fast. In Second Chronicles, that the people, it was about the land, about the inheritance. The people, the enemy come up against them, Patrick. And the leader went into the house of God and talked to the Lord. And God heard the leader. Now, you're not going to tell us something. To make a long story short, the leader tell God that they have nothing to do, can't do nothing of their own self. And God tell them, when he done that, and so God tell them they are going to send an ambush, and they arm the enemy. What happens presently now? That the leader of the country has to stand up and really, you have me in the Bible. The leader of the country has to stand up and forefront. Where is the wrong? They're supposed to talk wrong. Because I don't really want to say nothing about this, you know, because and I can tell you something, right? Mm-hmm. When you come out with this thing, if you don't come out of a different program, now believe me, I'm calling for your show.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Because I want to really speak the word of God and people really. But this is sickening passage.
Okay.
You talk one thing and that is. Do you know they're having a march on Friday? And so people now got the opportunity. God gave man the free will, you know.
Okay. I gotta go. I gotta go, Bible man. I have to go. Thanks for your contribution. They didn't give me the Bible verse, but perhaps some other time if you call, we'll get it. Yeah, but
I'll give you one, but you don't really want it.
Okay. I like Miss Psalms, but
and I'm going to give you this one. Blessed is the man that considereth the poor.
Yes. Okay. Thanks.
In the time of trouble, the Lord shall deliver him.
Yes.
God bless you.
Have a good night, Mr. Bible man. And as I wind down this program tonight, I discuss my thesis, a reckless gamble with the future of our federation. And I'm going to leave you with a warning. And this goes to St. Kitts and Nevis. Because Nevis is trying, through Mark Brantley and his cabal, I haven't used that word in a long time, to force a libertarian community onto the people of Nevis through the enabling legislation called the Special Sustainability Zone Authorization Act. I think it's 21 of 25, I stand corrected. They told us it's a simple framework, nothing to worry about. But the civic organizations have all come out. St. Kitts and Nevis Bar Association, the St. Kitts and Nevis Chamber of Industry and Commerce, the Hotel and Tourism Association, and the majority of people in the country, including the Nevis Reformation Party, the People's Labour Party, and the People's Action Movement. And they're all singing one tune: repeal, repeal, repeal. Then how can the Premier of Nevis and the Prime Minister of St. Kitts Nevis be so arrogant? Street Talk is warning of a demographic earthquake that's coming soon to Nevis. And St. Kitts will have a similar demographic earthquake if this is allowed to happen, when the Nigerians will descend upon Whitegate and elsewhere on St. Kitts. We are told openly, shamelessly, that 10,000 unknown settlers will be brought into a 36 square mile island, almost doubling the population. And the Deputy Premier of Nevis felt proud to say that he don't know where they're coming from.
As well, which is, I believe, some misinformation. You say that most of the persons who will be living in his zone will be wealthy Americans. We don't know who we don't know whether they will be Americans, Europeans, or where they're going to be coming from, because we are not the ones who will be promoting the development, and we are not the one who's going to be selling the units that are there. So we cannot come and say that most of them will be Americans. We are not sure.
A demographic earthquake so massive that it threatens to rewrite our culture, our society, and our future in a single stroke. We don't know. We're not sure. What kind of leadership signs away land and sovereignty without knowing who will occupy our shores? What kind of leader gambles with the identity of a people? What kind of leadership invites strangers while ignoring its own citizens? So the Premier Mark Brantley, it does not matter, he said. Of course, as long as Sharon Mama Brantley goes between and makes some millions in real estate commission, $50 million is estimated. And Daniel Brantley gets another $50 million as a service provider. It does not matter. Spencer Brand is in the mix as well. Don't lose sight of that. This is not governance. This is recklessness. This is not development. This is destabilization. This is not progress. This is a ticking time bomb. We must thank God for the civic organizations that have spoken out against this, and I just named them. My Street Dog family, we're here at a moment of enormous possibility and profound responsibility. For generations, our twin island nation has carried a reputation in history. St. Kitts, as I said, was known as the mother colony of the West Indies, the first English foothold in the Caribbean. Today, now they are suggesting that Nevis could become the mother colony of the libertarian world. The birthplace of a bold new experiment in governance and economics called the Proposed Destiny Project. Nobody's smarter than Mark Brantley. He said this.
When I graduated law school at the Norman Manley Law School in 1994, Mark Brantley from Henley Park and Brownhill was #1 in the Caribbean at Norman Manley Law School. And I went to Jamaica in 1994 and I graduated #1 in class. I got a certificate of merit. It was only the 4th time in the history of the Norman Manley Law School that a certificate of merit had been awarded. You know why I'm saying that? I am saying that because nobody could outsmart me.
But as someone said earlier, Mark Brantley would eventually outsmart himself. Give him kudos for his academic brilliance at university. But look at his performance in government for the last 20 years. Mark Brantley, you can say without fear of contradiction, is functionally dunce. He's promised a mega city. A leader who cannot finish a hospital wing after nearly 10 years, nearly a decade, wants us to believe he can manage $1 billion mega city. Imagine. A leader who cannot complete an expansion for our sick claims he can deliver a utopia for the rich. And if this project is to be the mother colony of anything, let it be the mother colony of responsible development, transparent governance, and people-powered decision-making, transforming a portion of the islands of St. Kitts and Nevis into semi-autonomous economic enclaves without broad public consent is not modernization. It is a reckless gamble with the collective future of our federation. And that's my story tonight, my Straight Dog family, and I am not going to change it. I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight. As always, I want to thank you, the many viewers, those who listen by whatever medium, those who looked at us, those who called, those who sent emails. I want you to be aware that you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. Did I thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation? I think I did. But until we connect on Thursday for another edition of Straight Talk, be good to yourselves and to all whom you meet. And remember, my Straight Talk family, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light. Thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye. Until we connect on Thursday.
In the morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees, soul. Beg him to take me through each day. My guardian to keep and my guide. Over every step I take, he will preside. So whatever my mind conceives that I will achieve, you better believe, because I do the things I should. Be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on till I reach the top somehow. My way with strength and courage from above. No man I'll fear, since God protects me with his love. Strong, pure and true, and so sincere, 'cause my